right now you need to think about every dollar that you're spending today, every single dollar, because we are already in recession. There's a direct, severe economic impact on your and my wallet. How do you set priorities with a sudden discontinuance of a paycheck? It's going to be very, very important that you conserve your spending. Everything that is not essential does not take place. I want to talk about why coronavirus as a health event has become such a brutal personal event for many people's wallets. So what do you do with bills you've got to pay? Psychologically, a lot of people feel a giant weight on themselves with rent or mortgages. So let's deal with practicalities. If you don't have the money to pay your rent or mortgage, what in the world is your landlord or bank going to do anyway? With your landlord, with your mortgage company, communicate early and often. Even if you're telling them what they don't want to hear, and even if they give you back a hard-hearted answer, you need to stay in communication. With banks, the answers people are getting are really ad hoc and not clear. If you've got an auto loan, credit card, personal loan, home equity line of credit, any bills you have with banks, you're going to need to take thorough notes when you communicate on chat, which is my favorite, or by phone, which is not my favorite, and know the answers are moving targets. Go to financial institution websites and look at what they are saying in their continual updated postings on what accommodations they're offering for different kinds of loans. When you find something that fits your circumstance that you would like to use, print that out if you have a printer. Otherwise, take a picture of that with your phone so you have that kind of documentation. Know that we are going to have situations that the answers continually change and our circumstances change. Be flexible and be kind to yourself and hold your temper in check when you're talking to people at places you're trying to get help from. If you have lost your job, credit cards are a low priority. Your priority is to provide food to your family, to provide a roof over your head, and pretty much everything after those two is a lower priority. And credit card companies fit in that category. What I want you to know is that most people's behavior is that they throw money at who's screaming the loudest. I need you to not do that. That paying the credit card company is a low priority. Doesn't mean you don't owe them the money. Doesn't mean when your hours come back for what you do and your income stream starts again, that you don't start paying them again. You do. There's something I'd like you to do proactively. Credit card companies want to hear from you if you need a holiday from making payments. As a practical matter, calling a credit card company right now is an exercise in frustration. But I prefer these online chats to phone calls. The reason is, with the online chats, you can then print out a record of it, or if you don't have a printer, that you store that so that you have it later as an electronic record. A lot of people are meek about calling a bank, calling a credit card company, but don't be meek here. This is your reputation. This is your money. This is your life. And if you don't advocate for yourself, there's nobody else to do so. Speaking of being a good advocate, if you have maintained your job, but you don't know what it's going to be like for you over the next 8 to 12 weeks with employment. A lot of issuers are offering the ability to do 0% balance transfers of existing balances. They're able to get new credit lines that may be larger than they already had. And so this is something that is a good strategic move for you if you are employed right now. Your job seems secure, but you're not completely sure, to know that you have the access and availability to credit on good terms if things get tougher for you over the weeks ahead. You put food on the table first, and then you set priorities from there. The vehicle comes after keeping a roof over your head, if you can pay for that. So if you can't pay for your vehicle, contact your lender. You contact the lender as soon as you cannot make a payment. The big thing not to do is hide from this, because if you just don't tell them anything and you're not making your payments, they just proceed on a regular track of doing a repossession of your vehicle. But if you reach them and stay in touch with them and tell them your financial circumstances, I can tell you the lender does not want your vehicle. Because right now, especially, they repossess from you. They're selling those vehicles at a much larger loss, so they have a direct incentive to work with you for a while to see if you can get back on your feet, and that's why you stay in contact. Auto insurers are making money hand over fist because people aren't driving like normal. With so far fewer vehicles on the road, the accident rates have collapsed. So auto insurers are voluntarily, in some cases, before being ordered by state regulators, to refund a portion of people's auto insurance premiums. You're going to see money show up a number of different ways. Could be direct deposit back in your account, could be a check back to you, could be a credit towards future premiums. But auto insurers are doing a really smart thing now, being there to help while their insureds really need it, and it's going to give people a positive feeling towards their auto insurers. I want to talk right now about the stock market because there's been a lot of anxiety in people about their 401ks, Roth IRAs, or regular investment accounts. I want you to know how this all plays out so that you make what is potentially the best decisions. I'm not going to say right decisions with your money, but I want to tell you what the odds typically are working for or against you. It's a long-term opportunity for investing, but not a short-term. The stock market could have far, far more to fall. Again, there's going to be a full recovery. And this is a temporary phenomenon that has come out of nowhere that is not based on economic conditions, which is why once the health questions are answered, the economy comes back to life. Each of these times that had brutal effects on stock investors, the only people who actually got hurt were people who sold and didn't wait for the eventual recovery. The psychological harm for people right now seems to be magnified because people have the double fear of their health and the well-being of their fellow family members. And then they see the value of their accounts, if they're looking too closely, going down, down, down. We have lost 3+ years of gains in the stock market, but you only lost that 3 years of gain if you sell. So I encourage you to really think before you act, because if you sell, you lock in the losses. If you stay, you could have more losses, true, going forward for now, but there's nothing about our economy that fundamentally says it is toast, but the recovery will come. One question that I'm getting more and more inquiries about involves unemployment compensation. Each state runs the combined federal state unemployment program. They each have their own procedures. There are similarities from state to state, but they vary from state to state. And now, in many places, you don't have to go stand in line at one of the unemployment centers. That's why it's great that so many places now have the ability for you to do your application online and start receiving money relatively quickly in most states. Now, one other thing, the jobs that are becoming obvious are anything involved with logistics, potentially manufacturing, and with any form of home delivery. Amazon has just announced a very heavy need for hiring, as a lot of people are switching from going out to buy things who historically have continued to do so. Amazon is overwhelmed and has been unable to meet its service standards for delivery. And so they are hiring hundreds of thousands of workers right now. As for work at home, we have a work at home guide on Clark.com, and you schedule up and schedule down as is appropriate for you for a lot of those opportunities. And also, depending on the level of work available from different industries, that will affect how much work at home will be available over these next couple of months. There will also be any of a number of jobs in the medical field. Medicine is, for better or worse, roughly 20% of our nation's economy, and that will grow significantly and represent a much larger percent of the U.S. economy. So there are areas where we're going to see demand for employees spike at the same time that other employees are laying people off in very large numbers. I want you to know that you are not alone. And so many people are suffering because of the financial fallout following the medical problem of coronavirus. And more than half of Americans now are concerned about being able to feed themselves and those in their household. This is serious stuff. What has surprised the people who operate food banks is they're seeing a completely different kind of client right now. And again, a lot of people feel alone in this. The numbers themselves make it clear you are not alone. I want you to know that this desperate hour we are in is not going to go on forever. In fact, this is different than anything any of us alive have experienced. This one's different in that the cause was not financial. The result of the medical problem has been financial. But I want you to know, as sharp and steep and rough and quick as this decline has been, we will recover in a much quicker mode than we would from something like the severe financial problems that the banks brought on us that started in 2007 and took 8 full years to cycle through. The decline was quick. The recovery will be choppy because we will have to, like an accordion, loosen and tighten restrictions based on how health outcomes are coming in different areas of the country. I've talked about this, but once we have a protocol of good treatment, the economy can recover much better. And then once we have a vaccine, we go into a mode of a significant and sustained recovery. So this cycle we're looking at is measured in months, not in many, many, many years.